Today we have a 2015 Toyota Sienna with the 3.5 liter V6 2GR-FE engine, and we are going to be replacing the PCV valve. Welcome back to the Moose Mobile Auto Repair channel, and today we are just going to be replacing the PCV valve. And here's the part number for this one. PCV stands for positive crankcase ventilation, so it's responsible for reducing and eliminating blow-by gases inside the engine. And so this is usually connected into the intake system, and so those blow-by gases are rerouted to be reburnt into the intake system, and also to reduce emissions. Now, if you change your oil regularly, you shouldn't have any problems, but it's still a good idea to replace the PCV valve at regular intervals. I recommend them when you are doing the spark plugs as a maintenance item. So I just replace them at the same time. Now, just a word of caution, I always like to recommend to use the OEM Toyota PCV valves, and because often the aftermarket ones, they may give you problems, and also sometimes the threads on the PCV valve are not the same, so it would be different, and the hex size is also different. The main issue here with the PCV valves is that if you use an aftermarket one, the flow characteristics will not be the same as the original one. So because that the flow characteristics can be different, that will cause problems and could trip a trouble code and set the check engine light. Now, some PCV valves, they may flow more or less depending on which one. So that's the main reason as to why I like to go to the dealer and just get the original part. Also, these parts are relatively cheap. This one is like $20 to $30, so they don't cost all that much. So I just go to the dealer and I just buy it from there and just put it in the vehicle. Okay, let's get started on the job now. So the first thing you want to do is to remove the engine cover. So you lift up at one corner, one at a time, and get this out of the way. So on this engine, the PCV valve is located here at the front of the vehicle on bank 2, on where the valve cover is. So the PCV valve is right here. So we are going to have to remove the PCV hose or the breather hose and get that out of the way. And we're going to use a socket to remove this. Now, before I remove this, usually on what I like to do, I like to count the individual threads as to how much it's out. Over here, I like to count the threads to give me a reference point on how much to tighten it up. And so I just like to put it the same way it was in, if this is the original. So I just like to count the threads here. There's usually there's 4 or 5 threads here. So when I install the new one, I'll know it'll be about 4 or 5 threads out. Because in some cases, I've seen guys who have over tighten this and cause issues and damage the threads inside the valve cover. So you have to be really careful. So this one is a 19 millimeter. We're just going to use a 19 deep socket and half drive a ratchet. It's a relatively easy job on this one. Just make sure that before you remove this that you are working on a cold engine. You don't want to do this on a hot engine. You want to wait till the engine has cooled down. When the engine has cooled down, then it's safe to take this out, because if you don't, then it's going to damage the aluminum. We're going to take this out now. Once you remove it and loosen it up, you can take it out by hand. So here's the old one. You can see a little bit slight buildup of carbon inside here. Now there is normally a spring and a pintle inside. So in some cases, if you shake it and if it rattles inside, it means it's good, but that's not always the case. So it's just one check that you can do, and you can definitely know that if somebody has been changing their oil on time or not by observing the carbon buildup on the PCV valve. This one is not all that bad, just like regular wear and tear from the vehicle. So you want to compare the old and the new part. So this is the new part. You can shake this one. They both rattle. So here's a new one. So we are just going to install this. Now you can put some a Teflon tape on the threads here if you want. You don't need to. So I can just install this dry the way it is, and there shouldn't be any issues. But if you want, you can put some Teflon tape that won't cause any issues. That will just help it to seal it better. But I really don't think it's absolutely necessary on this vehicle. And usually this vehicle serviceability it can be difficult for a majority of parts under the hood, but for this particular job it's easy access, so it won't be that big of a deal. So we are going to install the new one. Install it by hand first, as much as possible. Usually, on what I like to do, I just like to grab a socket, go by hand, and and tighten it up some more. So we're going to tighten it up now. You should stop until it becomes tight. I don't know if there's a torque spec for this, but once you feel some resistance, then you should stop. So it's all tight now. Once you feel a little bit of resistance as you are tightening it up, and then stop, and 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 like how I said previously earlier, I like to count the threads on how much it sticks out and match that. This is about like 4 or 5 threads. So I counted roughly 4 or 5 threads, and that should be okay. I just use this as a reference because you can still try to tighten this up, but it's not advised to tighten it up any further. So that's all you need to do. And then now we're just going to reinstall the PCV hose back, and then you should be all good to go after that. And then that's it. Reinstall the engine cover. So that's it for this job. It's a relatively easy job, small part, but a very important part. That's it for today. If you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, please don't forget to give it a like, and please consider subscribing to my channel if you're not already a subscriber, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a good day and take care.